So today we're going to start out with a little review on line because we've been working with tools that create line. And I haven't said everything I want to say about that. And we haven't even looked at the pens yet. So, but we are going to start with pencils. The thing that I want you to know about drawing is that, about the line, is that the line can only convey so much information. And so the more that we can manipulate the line to convey more information, the better our drawings are going to be. So the problem with line is that if we have one tool like a 2B pencil, it just creates one kind of line. So that's why if you're doing a full pencil drawing, you might want to have 2 or 3 different weights of pencil. Or if you're doing a line drawing with a brush pen, then you get to weight your line by pushing down or pulling up. So that's a tool where you can actually vary the weight of the line by just how you use the tool. But I'm going to do a demo off of that little still life I sent this morning. It's just a jug and a pear, and talk a little bit as I go. So I'll just switch up my camera. So I didn't want to be distracted by color because what we're working with is just a black and white image with the dark line on white paper. So I'll grab my sketchbook. All right, so I'm going to grab just a 2B pencil, which is what I usually work with. If I can find it. There's a mechanical pencil. Oh, I know where it is. Yeah, I wanted to show you this is, as I go today, I'm going to be talking about the materials that I use when I'm on the move journaling. So this is a really nifty little case that I got that's got lots of spots to put utensils in. If you really want to travel light, you don't need the double decker. You can get a single one. I actually got this in Toronto, but I'm sure you can find something like this in other art stores. They're pretty common. So I'm going to grab my 2B pencil, and then I'll talk about what else I've got in here later. And my image. It's going out of focus because the camera needs a minute to get focused. I actually do really like to travel with, when I travel light, with mechanical pencils because they're just so convenient. Anyway, what I want to show you is, well, I'm going to be talking about just drawing in general. I'm also going to be talking about the weighted line and drawing volume through contour. So the other day we used mapping our drawing and blind contour. So I'm going to kind of map the drawing here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this. I'll keep bringing it back into view. And I hope you'll see my pencil line. So I'm going to kind of map my drawing. I'm getting the kind of basic shapes and how they're related to each other. Fortunately, it's a pretty simple shape. And I'm pretty happy with that so far. So back to mapping my drawing. So I've got the pieces in place. And now I'm going to just check a few things to make sure, like I'll go in here, check this distance, check this angle that the pear makes here. Okay, so I'm again kind of drawing the basic shapes of the pear, and then checking in to make sure I'm mapping it properly. Again, here's an important angle right here, this angle. And I'm going to just, if I get that angle, I can see what's going on over here in this direction and here. So the angles tell us a lot. Okay, so there's the bottom of our jug, and The verticals are easy, of course. Jugs are a little challenging sometimes because they've got, and rims of things because they turn if we're looking at them at an angle. So anyway, I'm going to grab, and now I'm using a little bit of contour, just grabbing the outside edge. So I'm putting all these things together, grabbing the contour, angles. Soon I'm going to go into negative space. This is an interesting angle here too. And here's one of these places where it turns, right? We get this edge turning and then the underside of the edge comes through. I'll just hatch that so we can see that's the underside. And then I'm going to check it by looking at this little puzzle piece here of negative space. And I'm pretty happy with that. That looks pretty close to me. So, and then we have some interesting turning of edges here too. The shape of these ellipses when we're doing cups, pots, bowls, but sometimes natural objects like lily pads, for instance, sitting on a pond, as we move away from them, they tilt from, if we look down on them, they're circular, and as we move away, they tilt. And so we're dealing with ellipses, really. If you get the shape of the ellipse, that's pretty important. So you can see I'm just like grabbing it, going over it, trying to get the one that's working. You can always erase later. Okay, so I am going to erase a little bit. And what I usually use for my erasers are these kneadable erasers, because they're very easy on the papers. I'm erasing because I want to manipulate the line as I talk about weighted line. So I'm actually going to kind of lift a lot of the line here because I want to go in and fool around with that line so I can make my point better. But I'd also like to just talk about volume. And Corey, we were talking about drawing birds. And one of the ways that we can draw things with volume is to understand when we draw them, the sense of their volume. So when we draw the outline of something, that's very flat. But if you can kind of think about what the actual shape of the thing is, and the ellipse is partly telling us that here, right? We're following the line of the ellipse. In fact, it opens up a little bit if we were trying to capture that ellipse down here because we're looking down at it more. But basically, the lines of contour are coming around this, especially because we're looking down at it. They're coming down like this kind of direction. And so, for instance, if there's any decoration on this mug or on this jug, it would be coming from behind. We'd see a little bit of the edge coming from behind and a little bit disappearing like that in the way we're looking at it. So this just helps us get the idea of the volume of something when we're drawing. We don't have to leave those lines in, but especially when we're mapping a drawing, it can help us get the sense of the actual volume of the thing. So let's go to the pear. So I've got this very flat shape here. I'm going to take away these lines. Those were my mapping outlines. And again, you know, I'm teaching you these might seem like studio techniques, but I'm teaching you these techniques because they will help you get your drawings into your journal more quickly and more accurately. So that's why we're spending some time on them. So with the pear, we've got lines of contour coming around like this. These are what we call contour or cross contour lines. And then we also have some going like this too. And it's as if you're running your finger over the object. And they just help us understand, help us get a better sense for the shape of this object. If I was being really careful, I'd actually follow, there's a little dips in here. And that would help me kind of model the shape the volume, shape of the volume of this. So just going to erase a few of those. But the weighted line is also what I wanted to talk about. So all the line here is pretty much the same heaviness. And I'm not going to switch pencils. I could move to a softer pencil like a 4B that will create a darker line, but I'm just going to use a little pressure here. So where we want the lines to be more there, where the edges might be more prominent, or where we want to emphasize what's in front of another thing, we might weight our line. Like I might weight that line a little bit there as it comes in front of the jug. And maybe I will weight it, especially down here, again, where we've got it coming in front of the jug, and just pull back on that line a little bit. So now this comes forward. And maybe down here where we're grounding it, just draw a little bit of a darker line. So not all the line is sitting in the same plane because it's got different weights. So let me try some more here. This comes down in front of the handle, so I'll darken that a little bit more. And this line comes and folds around, so I'm going to darken that. But over here, this is a place where, actually even in the photograph, you can see the line disappears because that plane is falling away into light. So we actually don't see it very much. And it's also got something light in behind it. So I'm gonna just pull up some of these contour lines. Another place where there's a lot of contrast because of shadows is right here. So I might choose to make a bit of a heavier line there. And then up here is kind of falling away into the light, but right here is also quite a dark line. So now I'm building, this is falling away up here actually. Now I'm building a drawing that has a bit more depth, even though we're just working with the same kind of tool. So does that make sense? That's the weighted line.